Hey everyone, this is Electra. It is Friday, January 10th, 2025. It is a snowy afternoon here in St. Louis. I don't know if you can see it back there. There's the outside. It is like 12:30 or 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. And about me, I'm a 44-year-old, recently transitioning male to female, recently diagnosed autistic. I've had for quite some time and still have or suffer from major depressive disorder, anxiety, some light OCD, and provisional ADHD, but I'm going to act like I have it because my psychiatrist and I are pretty sure I actually do have a lot of it, even though I exhibited no symptoms as a child that I can recall, and my mother cannot either. Somehow it just appeared later in life, probably with my autism is my guess. I just figured out, I just learned I was autistic last year in the summer of 2024. I did a test and I was on the spectrum at the kind of the lowest level. It would have been considered Asperger's under the old definitions, but now everything is just autistic spectrum disorder, so I am autistic. But yeah, I don't know. I want this to be my project for 2025. I want to start a YouTube channel based on my life to date because I feel like this is something that should be kind of chronicled or remembered for the future, and maybe it'll help somebody along the way. And I hope it's not a cautionary tale, but I guess you could possibly call it that. I mean, who knows how this will all end up. I'm 44 is like not that old. Although, let's be honest, it's not young either. So I think especially for our generation, I don't think it's going to be as good for us as it was for, like, say, the baby boomers, my parents' generation. For us, the 40s will not be the 30s. It will not be the new 30s at all. It will be the new 50s, if anything. But yeah, I've had a difficult situation with my dad that's come to a head over the last 24 hours. Things have been difficult for about the last couple months. I think it got harder when I did not choose to travel home for Christmas 600 miles away. And I also think my parents are not accepting that this is the new me, mainly in terms of my mental status and condition. And they've always still considered me to be like a child, or like they can't let go of their vision of me that they had when I was, say, a later teenager and in college and through most of my 20s, because in a lot of ways, looking back at it, I was their version of myself, and they really, and that's, so of course they liked me then because I was kind of fulfilling a lot of their wishes and dreams, and I think they were kind of vicariously living through me. But don't get me wrong, like at the time, I didn't feel like I was manipulated into it unless it was just very subtle, and I couldn't tell because at that age, and plus, in hindsight, now that I know I'm autistic, it makes a lot of things make a ton more sense, which is why I'm glad I did get the diagnosis. I'm the type of person that would rather just know and have less uncertainty in life as much as possible, I think. And so anyway, I want these videos to be unmasked. So if I pause, if I kind of hesitate before words, that's just me. That's me being real. That's me being my brand of autistic. I feel like everyone has their own brand of autism. Everyone's going to be autistic in slightly different ways, and I'm just going to be me. So I'm not going to script. I don't want to script these. If I do script it, I might specify it, but I don't want to script because A, it's more work for me, and B, I don't think it's as fun. So I think real, authentic thoughts come from off-the-cuff type of statements. You know, I think that's where the truth comes from more often than scripts or pre-planned verbal statements. So, I think the crux of my issue with my father is the fact that I am in a very serious career crossroads. I know from past experience that this is when my father's anxiety gets very bad, and he's always had the bad habit of projecting it or exporting it onto me or the subject of the anxiety or who he thinks is causing the anxiety. For example, like he would text me almost every day asking if I found any new jobs or did anything happen? And it just gets exhausting because no, like job searches aren't going to have things that happen every single day, even if you're doing it intensively. So I've tried to tell him, you know, in the most polite way I can, but sometimes there's just no polite way to say, I don't want to hear from you as much. And it sucks that me as a child, I have to tell my father I don't want to talk to him as much as I am, because there's no nice way to say that. And of course he's going to take it personally. I wish he wouldn't. I wish he would see it as just, but again, I think that's just his way of looking at me. And to this day, you know, they don't really see me as like a full functioning adult, but they also don't want to acknowledge my mental deficiencies in autism. So it's like this weird cognitive dissonance, I guess. And yeah, I wish I knew, you know, I wish I did so many things differently looking back. And like getting older, it seems like regrets just snowball. And I don't know how older people do it. Like, I don't know how people can live to 60, 70, 80, even 80 years old and constantly be thinking like, if only I did that differently, or only if I said if I said that differently, if I treated this one person differently, if I did this one thing that I decided not to do, or I did this one thing that I shouldn't have done. I don't know. I try not to think about that because there's no point. But I feel like when times get difficult, it's much easier to do it because you want to overanalyze and try to figure out, like, where did I go wrong? What could I have done better? You know, that's kind of just, I know that's my Virgo nature. I have Jupiter and Saturn in Virgo in the 8th house. So I'm very over-analytical by nature, very detail-oriented. I try to find out the reasons for everything. To me, just like chance, luck is just not good enough of an explanation because I feel like nothing's really ever that random. And so, long story short, you know, it's hard to not being in their area in person, it's hard. And even if I was, it's going to be hard, but it's even harder when you're 600 miles away. And due to his, his hearing disability, he's very hard of hearing, and there's really no way to converse with him on the phone. We can say hi and how are you doing, but that's about it. So I've never really been able to have heart-to-heart, serious yet emotional or introspective conversations with my dad ever. And it's only gotten worse over the years as his hearing has gotten worse. And really, text message is the only way we can converse. So if I'm ever gonna tell him what's going on, it's gotta be through text. So I finally just did it last night. And he acted like he didn't know about any of my mental problems, which I'm thinking, like, I'm kind of concerned because, like, maybe he's getting dementia or something. And, like, he didn't know. He acted like, it's almost like he didn't know the last 20 years of my life even happened. So he didn't know about, I had to tell him I had depression. And anyway, what brought this on is that he asked me why I didn't want to fly airplanes again. And it's just like, why would I haven't flown airplanes in 14 years now. I have not flown an airplane in 14 years. And why would I just suddenly go? I can't even hold an FAA medical certificate, which you are required to hold to fly as a pilot. Any kind of pilot. You have to go see an FAA approved doctor either every 6 months or a year, depending on your age. At my age now, I'm pretty sure it's every 6 months. I'm 44. But yeah, long story short, I lost my ability to hold a medical the second I started taking antidepressant medication in 2011. That's actually what ended my last professional flying job, was my official diagnosis of depression and my starting of an antidepressant. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but either way, it was not an approved medication. It still isn't, probably. And if you're a professional pilot, being diagnosed with any sort of mental condition is career ending still, even now in 2024. It hasn't gotten much better. I don't want to get into the ethics of that and whether that's a good or bad idea. I just want to focus on what happened. And so, I knew at that point my flying career was over, and I was okay with it. I was ready to move on. It was something that I had been not enjoying for quite some time. I just didn't really know what else to do with myself. And I didn't really have the courage yet to just say, this is not for me. But I slowly started getting it. And when I finally got to the point where I could say, you know what, I have to acknowledge the fact I have depression. I've had it for years. I didn't get it treated. I was flying people on airplanes knowing I was depressed. And at that point, it wasn't worth that psychological guilt, I guess, So, so after that, I just haven't really found my way in life. I've done a few random things, like work in a retail department store, managing a men's clothing department, getting demoted from managing a men's clothing department, getting eventually let go. I think that was definitely when my autism was starting to become unmasked, almost like involuntarily. Like I basically couldn't be at work on time almost ever, no matter what I did. And that's only kind of gotten worse since. So yeah, long story short is, like, I've lost several jobs because of that. as I've gotten older, my autism has become more unmasked and less able to be suppressed like I was able to do for like up until I was about 30. I just couldn't, I can be places on time if it's like a one-off thing and I know it's important, like a doctor's appointment I can usually do. But when it's every day, 4 or 5 or 6 days a week, going to the same place to see the same people, to do the same things, that's when I cannot bring myself to be there on like a set schedule. It's just this weird mental block I've had. I don't know if it's like time blindness, executive functioning degradation. Somehow during all this, my father I don't think he ever knew that a lot of this was happening because my family just doesn't talk about difficult things or things that are inconvenient to hear or undesirable or somehow seen as bad. And frankly, almost everything that's happened in my life since 2008, 7 even, has fallen into that category. And again, due to my father's lack of hearing, it's not like I could go to him with my problems, as at that time I was a man and I didn't know yet that I was trans. I'm convinced I just didn't know it yet. And I was just in like this perfect little suppression bubble that just kept it underground. And I feel like not having a father that was able to really interact with me has hurt me, has been detrimental to my mental health for sure, and possibly even just like my life progress and career progress and lack of it, and my dysfunctional career. Let's be honest, I've been in the workforce now since 2002, and in 21 years, my peak was probably age 25, 26, when I was flying commercial jets for a major regional airline. I was living where I wanted to live. I felt mostly content. That wouldn't last for long. I think after, my depression was starting to kind of bubble up. I started taking St. John's wort just as an herbal remedy for depression in the early 2000s, when I my mom recommended it to me as a way to fight depression naturally. So I started it, and it seemed like it did a pretty good job. Like, I might have been placebo effect, but I felt like it was benefiting me, and I think that got me through my 20s. I think being on St. John's wort is really how I got through my 20s without even having to use prescription medication. But I think just by the time I got to age 30, like, I don't know if my body just didn't respond to it as much after like a decade of use, or if my depression got worse. It was probably a combination of both. But at that point, like, St. John's wort wasn't helping me, and I was having my flying career cratered in 2007, and it never really recovered. And that was when I was 27 years old. And my whole life was geared to that. It has to be. It's almost like becoming an Olympic athlete. You have to dedicate so much time and resources to becoming that once you're no longer that thing, you don't know what to do. And it's not just a job. Like you have to identify yourself with that profession and endeavor, or else you'll never get to the higher levels of it. And that's what I had wanted ever since I was 14. At least I thought I did. At the time, I thought I did. I don't have any regrets about that, I don't think. I mean, obviously, if hindsight's 20/20, but yeah, knowing what I know now, I would have done something extremely differently. If I knew what I would be like as a 44-year-old, I would have done something extremely differently. Looking back at it now, choosing a career that can literally end overnight the second you are diagnosed with multiple illnesses, not even just mental, but diabetes, for example. I don't have diabetes. It does run in my family. It's something that I could very well have someday. I don't know for sure, but that always did occur to me. And I thought, if my flying career ever did end due to a medical problem, I was pretty sure it would be diabetes. But no, it ended up being mental problems and depression, anxiety, being a masked autistic. I know that was affecting my career in my 20s. The flying career is definitely not anything that an autistic person should even consider, in my opinion. I don't even think you could hold a medical if you're diagnosed autistic. I could be wrong. I'm not sure about that, but I wouldn't recommend it either way, because traveling in general, I think, is very hard for autistic people. Being away from home, being away from your routines. I didn't realize how much my life would, how important that would be to me. And yeah, so yeah, we're about 22 minutes now. I don't want these videos to go too long, so let's end this one here for now. I don't know what my schedule will be. I'm hoping like maybe every day, if not maybe 3 times a week. I have time for now. I don't know exactly what my plans are for the for work. I'm considering going to cosmetology school, and it would probably be in late February or sometime in March. So that would take up a lot of my time, but until then, I don't see myself having much to do. So anyway, feel free to comment. I'd like to answer any questions you might have, and I'm gonna talk about all kinds of stuff, I'm sure, and thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.